Hello, everybody. Welcome to my live stream. It's December. It's December already. Do you like my Christmas sweater? Mandalorian Christmas sweater. I've got a few people on the stream already. Hi, James. Hi, Ultra Mega Nicola. Okay. Nice to see everybody here. Warren Weaver. I only know you from Near Mint Condition. I didn't think that you'd show up on any of my streams. Welcome. That's great. Gary's on the stream today. That's great. Um, I've got a few packages to open up here with you today, including an Epic collection. And the other two are not Epic collections, but let's find out what they are. And then we'll get to the Epic collection in just a second. I always like to start my streams off with a non-Epic collection book because I just like talking about other comics other than Epics. You know, no, I don't know when the new Epic announcements are coming. No idea. It's just Marvel hasn't sent us anything. Who knows about this book here? The Superhero's Journey by Patrick McDonnell. Now, this is part of the Marvel Arts series from Abrams Comics Arts. And the first book in this series is Fantastic Four Full Circle by Alex Ross. And this is the second one. And it's you may know this name, Patrick McDonnell. He does currently a newspaper comic strip called Mutts, and I love it. It's about a little cat and a dog. They talk to each other. They have some adventures, and he's a huge fan of superheroes. And often he'll be putting superhero references or homages and stuff in his comic strip. This is a memoir of his about how he grew up with superheroes and that how that influenced him in getting into comics. I have not looked inside this book at all. I bought it strictly because I really like Patrick McDonnell, and I got to meet him one time, and he's a super nice guy. So, you want to see what's inside this book? Because I have my second screen here. Let's take a look. I'll feature this spotlight. Solo. There we go. Solo layout. The Superhero's Journey by Patrick McDonnell. And you can see it's not going to be standard superhero comic art. It's very stylized because that's his style. Yeah, he's mimicking Steve Ditko here. There's the Watcher. I love this. This is great. This is fantastic. So you have to understand his style. There's some classic Kirby right there. His style is very simple. He's a minimalist in his drawing. He really likes a lot of his watercolors. Wow, this actually infuses a lot of the old art. I have no idea what this book is even about, really. Very cool. There, that's some of his classic art right there. Well, I'm gonna have to really go through this weekend because it looks just amazing. I really, really, really like this. I don't know, I don't know anything about it, but it looks pretty special. That's what I can say. So anyway, that is The Superhero's Journey by Patrick McDonnell. And so what's in the second box? Move this out of the way for a second here. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Honestly, I don't even remember what's in the second box. I pre-ordered a whole bunch of stuff. It's probably an EC archive or something like that. Come on out. Oh yeah, here we go. Shock Suspense Stories, EC Archives. This is volume 3. of the paperback series that Dark Horse has been doing. These are Golden Age comics. These are the comics that caused the comic code to, or not the comic, well, in a sense, the comic code, but it's the book that caused the Seduction of the Innocent book to be written because of the content of this stuff. These are comics from the 60s, 50s, and 60s. And or here, I'll bring it to the other camera. Fascinating stuff here as we go through. Let's see here, solo layout. These are all short stories done by comic book artists from the Golden Age. Has some great Golden Age art. Lots of dialogue, but the stories are about 10 or 12 pages, and they're all horror themed. They have to do with kind of the evil of people and what people will go to, what kind of lengths they'll go to for their own preservation or their selfish gains. Really nice stuff. This is colorized, like recolored. You can see some of the like the gradient shading because it's digitally recolored, but it's all based on the colors of Marie Severin, who is the colorist for these comics. Now, shock suspense stories. I believe this is the I think this is the anthology one where it's like they had a crime story, they had a science fiction story, they had a horror story, all in one. And it was kind of a grab bag if you were interested in some of the EC comics but didn't really know what to do. This was kind of used as a sampler in a sense. So really, really good stuff. You want to know some of the artists that are on here? Let's take a look. Intro by Brian Michael Bendis. It says Jack Kamen, Jack Davis, who's a mad artist, Bill Gaines, Al Feldstein, Wally Wood has a few stories in here, Reed Crandall, Frank Frazetta, George Evans, Bernie Krigstein, Jack Kamen, Otto Binder, that's the Captain Marvel guy. If you are familiar with Golden Age artists, you will recognize those names because it's a pretty well-known group of people. Anyway, that's the second book. Gonna have some good reading this weekend. Now for the moment you've all been waiting for. I know you want to see this epic collection. Let's see what we have in store today. Oh, it's not opening up. This is one that's going to come out in early January or maybe mid-January by this point. How come it's not coming out of this package? Got to rip it a little bit more. It's the Clone Saga, everybody's favorite comic series, the Clone Saga. This is ultimate. This is Amazing Spider-Man, Volume 27. Oh, I haven't been following up on the comments here. I've got my copy of Shock 3, not started reading it yet, though. Really looking forward to Crime Suspense Stories, Volume 1. Yeah, that should be a good one for sure. I don't have any of these ECs, EC archives, not Epic Collection. They look great. They are great. The stories are just really fun stories. You should check them out. Glad they started putting the archives out in soft cover because the hardcovers were getting crazy. OOP. Yeah, I was not collecting any of those hardcovers, so I'm glad that we have them here. Yep. Holy moly, looking forward to Amazing Spider-Man Volume 27. That's this one right here. This is starting to sound like a bad comic book plot. I like that reference. Good. Clone Saga. There's the Scarlet Spider right on the spine there. Ben Reilly, everybody. The original comic had a gray background just like this, but there was a lot of trade dress, including a big stripe down the side and stuff here, so you didn't notice the gray background as much. And when you strip it all away, it does kind of look a little bit plain, and I kind of wish that they would have centered this a little bit more instead of leaving where that strip was. But that's kind of how they do things. Um, oh, sorry, I don't even know how to pronounce your name there. But you say I just finished the original Clone Saga and Epic Collection Volume 9 and pre-ordered this Clone Saga, which collects issues from when I stopped reading Amazing Spider-Man back in the day. You know what? I um I started reading Spider-Man comics in the early 90s, and it wasn't until this stuff that I actually started buying them like um on a regular basis. So I've got a big nostalgia for this era, actually. Even though the it's an overbloated story and goes on maybe a little bit too long, I still enjoy reading these issues here. The real says didn't know Wally Wood worked on or uh, didn't Wally Wood work on Daredevil in the 60s? Yes, he did. In fact, he's the guy that gave Daredevil his red suit. Didn't know he did shock suspense stories before. He worked on a lot of EC comics. In fact, he was all over the place in the golden age, doing working for lots of different companies. So his name pops up quite often. You want to see inside this book? I want to see inside this book. Let's take a look. Amazing Spider-Man, the Clone Saga. Look at all those names. It's because all four of the Spider titles were crossing over with each other at this point, and they're all represented in this book. We can see here we've got Web of Spider-Man 117 to 119, Amazing Spider-Man 394 to 396, Spider-Man 51 to 53, Spectacular Spider-Man 217 to 219, and Spider-Man Unlimited number 7. And we have some excerpts from the comics leading up to this story here. And here's a big recap page of what brought us up to the um, the Clone Saga up to this point. So interesting. Um, and the here down here, this is all the credits for all of these. I assume all of these excerpt pages that are right here. I don't know why my camera looks so um, grainy, but so there are some pretty prominent issues in here. Judas Traveler is this character over here. He appeared in the Life Theft Epic Collection and carries through a little bit in this one here. Aunt May is sick and dying, but when is she not sick and dying? Really. Power and Responsibility, Part 3. The quality of these comics look pretty good. This is all stuff that has appeared in Omnibus, of course, and it used to be in old Epic collections or old complete collections. Hmm. But those complete collections had some issues with the reproduction of the comics, so it's nice to see that this actually looks a lot better. This gray with with the K tones in the background here would have been moire in the other version, but it looks like that all of that has been corrected here, which is very very nice. It has the flip book issues, the stories in here as well. This is a little bit different than the complete epic Clone Saga Volume 1 because that one included uh, Spider-Man The Lost Years, Venom versus Scarlet Spider. This story is in one of the Venom epic collections as well. What was I saying? So yeah, that one they took out the Spider-Man The Lost Years because that one was actually published a lot later, and so they're going to stick it later on uh, in its publication order, like the rest of the epics do. So there you go. I think if you like the 90s, then you're going to love this. If you like clones, then you'll like this. And you know what? I think a lot of people who like Spider-Man will enjoy a lot of this as well. Um, Even though, you know, it's not the fan favorite. There's a sideways page right there for you. What does this mean for the Spider-Man Epic collections, though? Does that mean we're going to get, another mm, another 9 volumes of of Amazing Spider-Man epic collections going through the entire Clone Saga. We don't know yet. Time will tell. But you know, this is the start. We'll see. We'll have to see how it ends. Got a little bit of time here. I can take some questions. Thanks, Jem, for the comment. Nice sweater. It's my Mandalorian sweater. Grogu, Mandalorian is down below there. Do the full thing, you cowards. Yeah, they just might. We'll have to see. You say, I wish they kept to the same order as the complete epics, to be honest. But you know what? One of the big things is that in order to fully appreciate the Lost Years, you have to go through the Clone Saga to understand some of the characters that show up in that miniseries. So the fact that it was published later was intentional, and it should be read in that way as well. And I have the same opinion with the Age of Apocalypse trade paperbacks. The ones that are called Age of Apocalypse, the complete epic, have all of the Age of Apocalypse material that was published after the event, but technically takes place before the event. They put that in the first one, but a lot of that stuff, it hits home harder if you've read the series and know where those characters end up, and then revisit their backstories. It's a preference thing. When do you think they'll do X-Men Epic 18? I think that they will probably end up. That's a good question. It kind of depends on if they're planning on reprinting the omnibus anytime soon. Because um, I or was it an omnibus or was it a complete collection? I don't even remember. But they've been reprinting a bunch of the X-Men, classic X-Men material in omnibus, and so if they have plans to do that, then they'll probably hold off on the epic for a little while longer. Um, we'll have to see how it goes. It looks like it contains the complete issue of Spider-Man Unlimited 7, while Clone Saga Epic 1 only included the first story. That's interesting. Let me check for you. Ultimate Spider-Man Unlimited number 7. Yes, you're right. It does collect the entire all the backup stories as well. So that's a bonus. Very, very nice. I'm glad you caught that as I was just flipping through. That's a very keen eye you have there, Michael. Are all epics printed by Solisco today nowadays? Yes, yes, they are. And let me confirm with you about this one. It is indeed a Solisco book as well. Yep. And that's nice. There's a consistency to the paper. They're all using the same paper these days, and it's nice. It's a nice sturdy stock, not too thin, not too bulky either. Um, the ink all sits on top of this paper, which kind of makes a lot of the colors really, really vibrant. And some people don't like how that looks, but that's kind of a result of the ink not soaking into the page like old comics used to. Maximum Carnage skipped the backup story in Spider-Man Unlimited #1, if I recall. You are correct about that. And they skipped the backup stories in Spider-Man Unlimited #2 as well. Hello there. What did you miss? You missed this epic collection, Spider-Man: The Clone Saga, volume 1 of the Clone Saga, but volume 27 of the epic collections. This book is coming out early January. You know what? Let's find out what the actual date on that is, because that's always good information to have, right? Check my handy dandy spreadsheet. It is January 16th. January 16th. So not too far to wait. Dennis, you also missed, I took a little look through this EC Archives book, Shock Suspense Stories, Volume 3, and also took a look at this The Superhero's Journey by Patrick McDonnell, which looks like a phenomenal book. I'm very excited to dig into that. So there you go. Um, Next week, we'll be getting Marvel 2 in 1, or I'll be getting Marvel 2 in 1 Volume 2, and I'll be able to share that and show that off with all of you here on the YouTube channel as well. Very excited for that one because it has been a long time since Volume 1 came out. So, looking forward to that. So, I have a question for you. I have all of the Clone Saga Complete Epic trades. Should I get rid of them as these ones come out, or should I hold on to all of them until all of these are out, or should I just get rid of all of them now and hope that the rest of these will come out in a timely fashion? It's hard because, like I said, the Spider-Man: The Lost Years is not included in this Epic collection, but it is in the Complete Epic Volume 1. So I don't know what to do. Do I hold on to it? Do I get rid of it? I would love your opinions on that. Did the Generation X Epic 4 release date get changed? Because I thought I remembered it having one, but then it wasn't there when I checked. Um, it did not get changed because it was not ever given a release date. We had it in our announcements for a certain month, but it never made it as far as getting onto Amazon or anything like that. So it never got slotted into an actual date. Marvel, after we did our announcements, almost pretty quick after we did our announcements, Marvel decided to shuffle the deck again, and they removed, I don't know, 7 or 8 entries from those and swapped them in with some other ones like Spider Girl and Astonishing X Men and New X Men Modern Era Epic Collections. So, um, I'm hoping that whenever we get the new announcements, we'll see some of those come back onto the schedule. It'd be nice to get some answers there. Okay, let's see what people are saying here. Maybe save them until the end and sell them as a bundle after these are all released. Yeah, I mean, selling as a bundle is probably the best way to go, because who wants to buy just one of them unless you're missing one of them, I suppose. And what about the coming Omnis? You mean the coming Clone Saga Omnis? I don't know. I don't buy those ones, so Chris says I'm keeping mine until they've all been epicalized. Yeah, I mean, I might do that too. I'm not sure yet. We'll have to see. How soon are you planning to read the Clone Saga again? I'd pace it out. Get rid of the complete collections and enjoy the Clone Saga as it gets re-released, probably like 1 year at a time. You know that's going to mean that it's going to be like 9 years. If they release one of these volumes, the Clone Saga volumes, every year, it's going to be 9 years before we get them all. When they did the complete epics, they released one every 4 months. And so we got that entire thing plus the Ben Riley saga, like all 9 or 10 of those volumes, or however many there were. 11, right? Because there were 6 Ben Rileys and 5 Clone Saga. There were 11 volumes, and we got them out in like 2.5 years or something like that. It was a pretty quick pace. Is the Marvel 2-in-1 Epic the one with the missing Doc Savage issue? Yes, yes, it is. And that's kind of the reason why it was delayed for so long, because Marvel was trying to get the rights, and we know they were trying to secure the rights to reprint that one because we got an early look at the cover, and the back cover description had a reference to Doc Savage, and it said it was included in the bottom content there. And then finally, they had to just be like, I guess we're not going to be able to do it, and they're giving it to us without that issue in, unfortunately. So there you go. It is in the Masterworks, so if you want to get the Marvel 2-in-1 Masterworks that includes those issues, the Doc Savage issue is there. And last time I checked, it was actually on Marvel Unlimited as well. I wonder if it's still there. Because if the contracts have changed recently, then maybe they've taken it off of digital. But um, let's have a look. Marvel 2-in-1. What issue is that one? It's like 23, I think. 21. Issue 21. Yeah, it's on Marvel Unlimited. So if you want to read it, get yourself a digital subscription. It's still there. Interesting that the contract is very specific, I guess, for certain things. Only for digital, only for Marvel Masterworks, but they haven't negotiated anything else. Um, okay, Michael says you save the Clone Saga trades, the old editions, until you see if they fully reprint the Ben Riley epics. Toward the end of the Ben Riley epics, the title becomes much less intertwined. Will they continue including the non-Amazing Spider-Man issues? That is an excellent point. That yeah, absolutely. It's very possible that that they will not continue, especially if we have spectacular Spider-Man epic collections. If we have a web of Spider-Man epic collections, maybe we'll get a sensational Spider-Man epic collection at some point. I don't know. But you're right. If we have all of those other lines, there's no reason for them to keep on reprinting them in Amazing Spider-Man, especially since the stories become uh, contained to their own titles again. So, yeah, I'll just, once the Clone Saga is done, I'll determine whether or not I'm going to sell those trades and hang on to the Ben Riley ones to see how they're going to do that. Good point. Personally, I kind of will want them to skip ahead a little bit to the post Ben Riley saga, like when Peter Parker comes back. All of that stuff is not very well collected or very out of print, and I would like to see them kind of skip ahead. So my guess is if usually we get two Spider-Man epics, right? We'll get a classic one from the 60s, 70s, and then we'll get a newer one from 80s, 90s. If we can keep on getting one a year of the classic stuff, and then once those have filled in the gaps all the way up to volume 16, then those ones jump ahead to the post Clone Saga Ben Riley stuff, and then we'll get, we'll still get two a year. So these ones will be coming out one a year, and then that other stuff will come out one a year. And then the great debate is, where does the classic era end? Does it end when the volume one ends, and then the modern era starts with the next chapter with Howard Mackie and John Byrne? Or does the classic era continue through that stuff, and then we get a reboot with the modern era epic collections starting with the Michael Straczynski era of Spider-Man? Um, my guess is that the Straczynski stuff will be the beginning of the modern era, just because there's a definite shift in the way that storytelling happens. And then there's, yes, another, whoops, the other common thing is classic era should end with one more day. That does seem to be a natural breaking point, doesn't it? Because, literally everything changes with that moment right there. So I don't know. It's a good question. They seem to be doing classic and 90s back and forth releases for a lot of titles like Ghost Rider, X-Men, and Spider-Man. Yeah, for the long running titles, they are jumping back and forth. And that's because they had broken up the Epic collections to two editorial groups. There was one editor that was working with just the classic content, everything from Marvel from the 60s and 70s, and there was a different editor who was working on all of the Marvel content from the 80s to the 90s. And so each of those editors was allowed one, for instance, one Spider-Man release per year. And so we'd get a classic one and we'd get a modern one. And that's kind of the way that they've continued to do it. I mean, they still have two editors, I believe, for all of these. Corey Settlemeyer is the editor for the classic, the old era, and Jen Grunwald is the editor for the newer stuff. So, yeah, we'll see. They need to do 3 or 4 Amazing Spider-Mans a year, I think. Yes, I think so too. Especially, yeah, the way they could solve that is if we start a Spider-Man, a spectacular Spider-Man, and a web of Spider-Man. Um, you're saying that we should get 3 amazing Spider-Mans a year or something, but it would just be great to have more Spider-Man. One of the things that publishers have to be aware of is that they're selling these books to places like Barnes and Noble and smaller bookstores, and they actually don't want multiple titles a year because they just take up too much space, and they have a very, very limited amount of space, especially for graphic novels. So if they want to have a good selection of Doctor Strange, Fantastic Four, X-Men, Spider-Man, whatever, they're going to put one or two of each on the shelf. They're not going to put four Amazing Spider-Man Epic Collections. Like they don't want them to come out that fast. So they a lot of times you will see that's why the releases are like one a year or whatever because there's a sell-off period that they it's not mandated, but the bigger publishers like Penguin Random House keep that in mind because their main retailers are are the bookstores, not the comic shops. I'm still confused about the other Spider-Man title like Spectacular and Amazing. So, um, you want to know the difference between the titles? There's not really a difference. And also Web of Spider-Man. The reason why they exist is because Spider-Man just sold more, and so they wanted to publish more than one book a month. And so they created another title, Spectacular Spider-Man. So then they had two Spider-Man titles, so they could do it bi-weekly, and they didn't cross over or anything like that. At least at the start, they were two separate ones with two separate creative teams, but they were kind of the same. You could read either, and it wouldn't feel really any different. There are times where they would kind of be different, like Spider-Man would be focused on the Daily Bugle stuff, or sorry, Spectacular would be focused on the Daily Bugle, and then Amazing would be focused on his home life or his family group. Then they introduced Web of Spider-Man. That one was kind of more like an anthology title where it would have a rotating series of creators for every story arc. Um, Adjectiveless Spider-Man, the one that's just called Spider-Man, was the one that Todd McFarlane launched, and it was kind of a little vanity project for him for a while. And then once we got to this era, they kind of changed things so that each since there were four spider titles they could publish one every single week, and they just told basically a weekly story of Spider-Man throughout the four titles, which is why we have so many Spider-Man titles issues in here, because at this point it was treated as a weekly title every single week. And it would have different creative team, of course, because one person can't do a weekly comic. It's impossible. And so that's how that worked for many years. And they kind of do that now with Amazing Spider-Man, or they did for a while, because wasn't Amazing Spider-Man weekly or was it bi-weekly? They just did away with the other titles and just went ahead and made it weekly, and they'd have a creative team working well ahead so they could get a whole 6-issue story arc done, or they'd have rotating teams of artists. But it was the same school of thought as this time right here. Wouldn't they want Spidey before Hawkeye or Submariner? Yeah, I mean he's the most popular one, so there you go. Brand New Day had Amazing Spider-Man going weekly or thrice monthly. Yeah, one of those two. Um, they really upped the schedule there, which is why Spider-Man's numbering is like way up there now. Anyway, that's my best explanation. I hope that helped. Um, yeah. Otherwise, this is an upgrade for those of you who missed it. The original printings, the one that are called the Clone Saga, the complete epic, had some printing issues where it would be marred with the moire pattern, where the backgrounds would look kind of dotted and spotted. But this edition looks like it's solved those issues. I don't see it on my first glance, at least. I mean, you saw me look through it. I only looked through it as much as you looked through it, but it looks good. It looks good so far. So it's an upgrade. Um, and there we go. I think that's our stream for today. I'll be back next week with another Epic Collection. And oh, by the way, this is Epic Collection number 351. 351. That's amazing that we have this many Epic Collections and the line is still going strong. I hope to get I hope to get new Epic Collection announcements sometime really soon. I've been saying that for almost 2 months now, I think, maybe a month and a half that we've been expecting them. But I assume that Marvel is working behind the scenes, or there's some scheduling issues, or they're still working out the bugs because they have not passed the list along to Omar or to myself yet. And so as soon as we get that, we'll get that live stream in there with the new announcements as soon as we can. But anyway, Thanks everybody for watching. I hope you have a great night, and we'll leave you with this parting comment. Epics are the best Marvel line. Suck it, Omar. Oh, that's wonderful. See you later, everybody.